Well, it's taken me a few days, but here we are, guys. I want to talk to you today about the upcoming release, just a couple of days away now. I've waited till the weekend, but a trailer came out this Tuesday for the finale of Champions. So this is, at last, a big moment, a big release. For the past several months, we've been basically experiencing one Living World episode broken into fragments as the devs shift resources over onto the expansion. Well, here we might be at either the finale of the Icebrood saga in total, though there might be an epilogue release of some kind, or at the very least the finale, and this is specifically what they're calling it, the finale of Champions. So these kind of mini releases filled with dragon response missions and the coming together to fight these two elder dragons, Primordus and Judgement, will be ending. So the trailer's pretty interesting. It's quite short, but you really will get a gist of what's coming up in this story, whether there'll be a new map or new areas to explore at the very least. And then actually what's probably more interesting is the release page and a massively OP article. It's nice to see some articles about Guild Wars 2 beyond just their own press pages, and I'll be sharing all of that with you guys there. You can actually glean a bit more information from the release, I think, on that one. So let's run through the trailer. Now, this is pretty big and spoilery, to be honest, so if you didn't play part 3, in which big stuff happened with Bram's character, I actually suggest you stop watching my video and go play it. If not, here we go, let's jump in.
I am Bram Erson, Norn of Prophecy. It was me who cracked the fang of the serpent. Tell the commander, this is my choice. Jormak, I am
Ryland Steelcatcher. I know you. A born leader who's waited your whole life for a role worthy of your talents.
Nice of you to clear out the trash for me, Commander.
Bram, there he is! We're not here to kill you. We're here to kill Primordus.
We are Primordus.
Well, so there you have it. Not too shabby of a trailer. You can see they've quite smartly padded what's in it with previous cutscenes and some of the higher quality cutscenes we've seen, like this Season 3 one here with the cracking of the tooth. When we look at the Ryland section, they've used some of those nice cutscenes from earlier in the Icebrood saga where that quality and that development time and those resources was still there, and that little bit of a glimpse at Judgement. They do seem to have made a couple of weird errors. People were talking about online, Ryland's voice doesn't have the char filter on it, apparently. They might have forgotten to do. And of course, we do have these Zerg shots, one of which is super low frame rate. I've seen a lot of community response to that, but listen, guys, so many of their trailers have when they attempt to show Zerg content, have always ended up super low FPS. I do find it kind of funny that probably a lot of us as players are on rigs, and especially if we're using DirectX 12 proxy, that will be able to render whatever this content is better than the devs they've even shown in their trailer itself. But there you have it. We also get these nice shots at the end here of the two dragons. It's basically 100% confirmed here. There's going to be an Elder Dragon Rumble with two of them on screen at the same time, which is quite exciting. The downside here, though, is, as you can see, they're just kind of the dragons' heads. And I was hoping that they would do a little bit more than that. We only got a glimpse of Jormag's head earlier in the Icebrood saga, and the guess was that later we'd see more of it. And then Primordus, obviously, way back in Season 3, we saw just his head. But his head was truly epic. It was like Titanic, gargantuan-sized thing. And now it even seems to be a little bit shrunk down based on what we can see in the trailer. And I know what a lot of you guys are thinking. Oh my god, are we going to have a plot where we kill both of these Elder Dragons and all the devs do is show us their heads? Is that all we're really going to get? I actually think not. Actually, looking closely in the production of this video here on the weekend, took me enough days, I'm now pretty much convinced these Elder Dragons are going to survive this patch because of the release page detail that is very evasive about the dragons themselves and really only wants to talk about the avatars of the dragon, that being Ryland and Bram, which the trailer itself is really emphasizing above anything else. So I'm beginning to think they'll survive. We'll look at the release page again in a moment. Running back through the trailer, you obviously do have the lower thirds to read. They talk a little bit about the features. The final battle of the Icebrood saga. It is by the looks of it, Zerg content. We can see a little bit of a King of the Hill conquest capture point style mechanic there on screen for a bit as well. A giant Ryland with his great sword, using the same telegraph I think we saw in the Owl DRM, which is nice. New rewards, the Dragon Cape and the Dragon's Eye infusions. I think these look pretty good. There's already a lot of capes in game now. I do like the trailer's touch of showing us different dye possibilities for the cape. And then the Dragon's Eye. The Dragon's Eye seems to have led a lot of people to think that this patch is going to result with the two Elder Dragons merging or fusing together. Don't forget that the final mastery is, what's it called? It's called Dragon Slayer, I think, which presumably will be unlocking with this episode as well. So there's a lot of speculation that they'll like merge or be destroyed and become something new. How that fits in with the Deep Sea Dragon and Kunavang and all the End of Dragon stuff, which ultimately this is segueing into though, I just can't see. So I think it's just going to be a nice fancy reward for us, and I'm not looking too deeply into it. The cape definitely is the thing that's caught my eye most. Probably would look good complementing a Hellfire set. Not too sure. And finally, the trailer closes with a mention on the name, which I think people are overlooking too much. This patch is called Judgement, and that name does mean something. Now, it's my belief that the original idea for the Icebrood Saga was going to have a lot more Coden storylines. If you look at when it was still fully budgeted and had a lot going on, they were talking about the Bone Skinners connection with the Coden. If you look at the original trailer they did, there was a prominent focus on the Coden at some point. And now they've kind of fallen away. They were obviously one of the factions that got mobilized and joined with us. But this last patch called Judgement, it just makes me think Coden as well. And I'm wondering if this final fight, some big twist or something that will happen at the end, is going to have to do with Coda or the Coden in some way. And the devs will try and put a bit of that spirit of that story still in there, even though obviously the patches themselves are a lot shorter than maybe they had originally envisioned. Aside from something to do with the Coden, why is this called Judgement? Who is doing the judging, right? I mean, it's just two Elder Dragons using their champions as pawns to fight one another. I don't see where that term really comes in beyond that. The last thing to really talk about the trailer is where's it set. These are new environments, so I don't think we're going to get a full map here. Along the idea of Bjora or Grothmar or Drizzlewood, but a new playable space, definitely. So think of it as something a little bit more refined, built for one mission in particular. You could even look at the Visions of the Past mission with the tank, think along those lines. And it's obviously out there in the mountains. You can see during the final confrontation, Primordus seems to have burst out of a lavary flaming forest in the background, while Jormag's just kind of out there, maybe peering through one of their created portals. But it's a snowy environment. There's an ice lake. Well, the release page pretty much confirms where this is going to be. This is outside the Eye of the North, which I'm actually really thrilled with. In Guild Wars 1, you could walk in and out of a main entryway to the Eye of the North, no problem, and you could see there was a big icy lake out there. It was home to a few interesting quests, particularly after Eye of the North was done. And they started moving in with the Guild Wars 1 equivalent of Living World. You had some fun missions there. But in Guild Wars 2, it's been completely inaccessible. And I've always found that disappointing. Don't forget, the Eye of the North's been available for years. Obviously, if you have the Hall of Monument Portal Stone, because you connected the two accounts together, you could go there, but there's this rubble blocking the entrance. If you dig deep enough, you can find fascinating map breakout videos from like 2013, where people have cunningly figured out exactly how to get outside and explore beyond the Eye of the North in Guild Wars 2. It's always just been kind of placeholder and a bit rubbish. It looks like with this release, they'll open up that playable space. That's thrilling to me. Who would have thought back during Guild Wars 1 era that right there on that lake we would eventually see two Elder Dragons pitted off against one another next to the eye? But that is the reality we're living in. And what I also kind of hope is, I know that this is probably just made for a mission, isn't really going to be a proper open world map, but it'd be really cool if it's somehow then connected to Bitterfrost Frontier ArenaNet. Can you do that? So then we kind of have, this logical progression where you can travel all the way down again. That would essentially open up a physical route from here to the domain of Corner. How badass would that be? And then maybe they could, create some kind of connection up to Bjora Marches at the same time. That would then lead to Grothmar. It is curious to me that on the trailer, we don't see the eye in the background anywhere, though. So I guess there's a chance it's not directly outside. Another little bit of trickery in some of these environment shots shots is the size of Primordus. A lot of people are and I've already mentioned, disappointed by how small he seems here. But I don't know, in one of these Bram shots, he still seems kind of big. So fingers crossed they do it well. I don't even think they have to do it that well because, again, I don't think this is the ultimate patch for these dragons. That leads me over to the release page. Let's jump in and see what they say here. Beginning 27th April, Bram Erson's destiny is unfolding. When his arrow pierced Jormag's fang, he shouldered his people's quest for retribution against the dragon. You know what would be a nice touch at some point in the story here if they actually move the fang into the Eye of the North? For such a big part of the story, since we're never going back to Holbrook right now, it feels a bit distant and remote. It'd be kind of cool if we put it there so that Jormag could see it through Bangar's eyes or something, I don't know. He's grown into a hero worthy of the prophecy, but fulfilling it may come at a price you've seen too many friends pay. That's a fun line. It makes you think about, you know, what characters we've lost recently. I mean, Season 4 had a fair few. Almora, I guess, is the most recent. But Bram really is something special here. He's a main member of Dragon's Watch. If you think about it through the whole story, none of these extremely prominent characters have actually fully died. So I think there should be some emotional resonance there. It's also funny because it's Bram, and a lot of people haven't gotten over the shoddy writing in Season 3 where he acted kind of weird in grief. He acted like a human instead of like a Norn, blah, blah, blah. But still, now here's the big line. As avatars of a hatred that spans millennia, what will become of the Elder Dragon's mortal champions? Okay, this is the opening paragraph. This is them saying, what is this patch about? What is the subject material here? And are they saying, what will happen to Jormag and Primordus? Are they saying, which Elder Dragon will survive? Are they saying, how will we defeat the two Elder Dragons? They're not saying any of that. They're saying, what will become of the Elder Dragon's mortal champions? So I think we will see a definitive story beat with these guys. Maybe both die, one dies, whatever. These are the questions we can ask. But the dragons themselves, I think, will probably just slink away. And listen, that's something I kind of want to see, because when we finally deal with these, especially Primordus, I really want to see the devs be able to do it in the best way possible. So I'm happy for that reason, but it will lead Guild Wars into another weird place, which is like, during Season 3, we were basically in a Primordus versus Jormag story. I mean, go back and rewatch some of those videos. Hell, watch my own trailer analyses on them. They had, in the lower thirds, way back in Season 3, all those years ago now, two dragons and Tyrion's caught in the middle, blah, blah, blah. And then they just put them to sleep so that they could do the Path of Fire story. And now it's like, well, we have the two dragons fighting one another and they're gonna go away so we can do the End of Dragon story. Unless the End of Dragon story is fully embracing that these guys are around, which is the other possibility, and I kind of hope we see. Don't forget there was that developer comment about the interim content likely coming up, in which they kind of alluded to a new state of the world for Tyria, like the state of the world that Tyria is in will inform the launch of End of Dragons. What is that state of the world? Is it a world where Aureen's mad because she's consumed all of their magic and they're dead? Or is it a world where they're still around and they're just going a bit ballistic? They're just going a bit nuts. And, you know, any of these could be the situation. I find the game exceptionally unpredictable right now, which I suppose is a good thing in a lot of ways. So yeah, I don't think that these Elder Dragons are going to be dead, because that's not how they're framing this release. They're talking about Ryland and Bram, you know, with that epic shot at the end of the trailer of the two jumping at one another. Oh, by the way, let's put that back on screen. A little thing I was thinking about. You know how sometimes they tease elite specs that might be coming up? Well, obviously we have the whole Bram's bow, Dragon Hunter thing going on. But he's lost his bow now. Hopefully they'll do something with that in the story. But what's he doing in his new form? We have Ryland with his big greatsword. Well, Bram is actually like unarmed fighting. Is this something of a suggestion about some kind of unarmed combat? Maybe coming to Guardian or any of the professions come End of Dragons? What do you guys think? Am I reaching a little bit here? Because he's definitely doing like a brawlery style thing. And I don't deny, was he already doing this at the end of last release as well? But right there on the trailer makes me think about that. Back to the release page. Back to the release page. Look at this. They have real details about what we'll be doing. Dragon Storm. Join the final battle. So this is the name for this mission that's taking place outside the Eye of the North on that ice lake. There's little time left to save Tyria from a cataclysm of ice or fire. An evenly matched head-to-head fight between Primordus and Jormag will destroy them both, and each dragon is desperate to gain an advantage. Tip the scales to ensure they can't hide behind Bram and Ryland forever. And for what it's worth, that paragraph stuff certainly once again makes it look like the Elder Dragons are the big game at the end of it, so maybe my whole theory is wrong here. Anyway, play the final chapter of the Icebrood Saga Champions to experience Dragonstorm as a part of the story, and then head to the Eye of the North to face the challenging world boss version of this encounter. Anyone can join while this event is active, or you can form a squad to start your own instance at any time. So it's this mention here of the Eye of the North that, you know, really makes it seem like it's that ice lake. I don't deny, though, that it could just be you start the mission from the Eye of the North. We start numerous dragon response missions from the Eye of the North. That doesn't mean they're located right outside it. So maybe it's somewhere more distance out in the Shiver Peaks. That's why we can't see the tower. I'm totally open to that possibility. But here, there's going to be a story version and then an open world subsequent edition, which the only time I think we've seen ArenaNet do that before was with Drakkar, right? You fight Drakkar in the story instance and there's an open world equivalent. A lot of the other times, they kind of completely split them apart. Like the Mouth of Morgemoth did not appear in the Heart of Thorn's main story. You kind of had to go off to the side to experience that. Balthazar did not appear as a meta event in Vabi. You had to experience it within the story. Well, I like this idea of kind of having the return, the grindable, the farmable one, where there's this big open world event with lots of people. How this will work like 3 years down the line, when the player population might be a little bit lower, is the real story, but it's not one that I think most people are going to be interested in at this point. And then a little paragraph about the rewards. The glorious dragon scale cape. Nice use of the word glorious there, as we were talking about glories of dragons in season 4. A new ascended great sword, which by the way was not actually really referenced in the trailer lower thirds. Mix and match the new Jormag and Primordus eye infusions to add chilling or searing draconic energy to your eyes in any combination you choose. So I like this as an infusion for what it's worth. What it allows you to do is actually do it on top of whatever headgear you like. And because there's already some other headgears that look kind of elemental themed or maybe cover one eye or the other, there's probably going to be some fun combos here. And for the first time this is an infusion I think I'll be wearing long term. I was very excited about the previous infusion they did for champions, the dwarf one, but you kind of need to be showing a lot of skin for it to work. You guys haven't seen me utilizing it in any videos. This stuff though, I can definitely see, especially for my elementalist, anyone wearing the Frostfire outfit that came out in the gem store a while ago, stuff like that. A little quote here from the devs, courtesy of Massively OP. I'll put a link in the description. I don't want to just like steal their content, so to speak, which you guys can click for the full article, which really doesn't add much more than this quote here. But they said, with ally Bram, Norn of Prophecy, on the cusp of confronting his destiny, two of Tyria's largest and most enigmatic threats emerge to do battle in a clash of supremacy over control of the world's magic. Players will be thrust between these two forces of nature to stop the conflict by any means necessary, and nobody's getting out unscathed. Kind of a suggestion there, maybe both these characters will be dead. The fourth and final chapter of episode 5, titled Judgement, brings with it a host of dragon-related rewards, the thrilling conclusion to the last 18 months, and a massive world boss encounter for up to 80 players. So we get a suggestion of how much that scales. I think that's on par with Claw of Jormag and Tech and generally those other open world maps. I think the cap is around 80 from my days doing the Triple Trouble Worm. You'll also notice here, they're saying this is the conclusion to 18 months. That suggests to me there might not even be an Icebrood Saga epilogue patch that kind of rounds it out after this. This may not just be the finale of Champions, but the finale of the whole thing. And there's a lower third in the trailer that kind of suggests it's the finale of the whole thing as well, which would mean after Tuesday, we're immediately into interim stuff and just fingers crossed the End of Dragons isn't too far after that. By playing the main storyline, players will be able to max out the Dragon Slayer Mastery, granting them access to rare item drops. Players will be able to earn new dragon-themed rewards, a cape, an eye infusion to channel their inner Elder Dragon, a special icy greatsword, and new dragon-themed minis. I don't think I've seen anything about the minis anywhere else. Additionally, the chapter's world boss encounter will become available in a special private squad version. So this sounds a bit like a strike mission, but not a 10-man strike. This is for max size squads. And then if you go public, which will be less coordinated, you can go up to 80. I wonder if like DRMs, it will have like CM modes you can toggle into if you're doing the private version. And they also say it will occur on a rotation every 2 hours or so. I mean, it depends how long the event is as well, but you might find this slips quite seamlessly into current world boss trains and stuff, depending on how they pick the timing. And thanks to Massively OP for that. That's pretty much all the information, except that on the release page, there are these screenshots to scroll through. That looks like the new greatsword there, being wielded by this character. And they look really well aliased and good colors on these screenshots. The infusions there, Primordus' head new, and you can see sort of the more rippled, detailed texture there. Shot here, this is probably the best one, of the characters that are going to be present for this climax. They've obviously got a ton they can choose from. I feel like this particular cast was locked in place many moons ago, right at the start of the Icebrood saga. So who have we got? We've got Ritlock and Kreesha. I think that makes a lot of sense. Ever since Grothmar, they've been big characters this season, or saga, I should say. You've got Kaith, Taimi, and Jarvi there as well. Bram obviously will be a big force in the story, but he's not like on the heroes team anymore. It's kind of a little different. They've got this shot of a guild hall showing some of these crystalline decorations. I swear we already have these in game, don't we? So is this just a new variety? I must admit I haven't really analyzed those too closely. An action shot of the cape. And then this final one, which I'll probably use for today's video thumbnail, because I really like the color balance on it, of destroyers in the middle of this new big meta event. So there you have it, guys. That is pretty much everything I know and what I'm expecting of the upcoming release, which is only a couple of days away. So keep an eye out on the channel for when that patch drops. I'll give you guys all those general notes, and we'll talk about the story and exactly what's happened with it. So thanks. If I've missed anything, please do let me know. What are your hopes and thoughts for this release? Because Champions has been such a weird time for the Guild Wars 2 community and story. Here we are at the big finale, and I'm wondering kind of where everyone's head is at the moment, where your mindset is. So thanks, guys. Let me know down in the comments. I'll be watching very closely, and I'll see you later in the evening for our daily podcast about the next X-Pack, End of Dragons, and all that good Cantha stuff. So thanks, guys. I'll see you over there. I've got some news about the guild as well for you all at that point, and take it easy.